Next tonight, Londoners were faced with severe travel chaos this morning, not due to Storm Isha though, but a derailed freight train blocking the tracks in Willesden. But Isha has had an impact. The high winds have made it too difficult to put a crane up and remove the train, meaning even more chaos for the journey home. Our correspondent Simon Harris reports.
A derailed wagon sits at 45 degrees across two lines. Another disrupted commute for Londoners and awkward questions for Network Rail. The wagon was one of three which came off the track as an engineering train loaded with stone ballast went over a set of points. The derailment between Shepherd's Bush and Willesden Junction blocked a busy passenger line.
I've been trying to get to Brondesbury and I found that the trains are all cancelled.
They just said that no trains are running right now.
What are you going to do?
Go take the bus. It's annoying.
Now I go to 49, take the bus, and it takes like 50 minutes to go to Clapham Junction. So it's annoying, but what we can do.
The derailment happened in the early hours of Sunday morning. With trains on this section of the London Overground unable to run, engineers began the painstaking task of moving the wagons. By lunchtime, two were back on the tracks, but one was still blocking the line. Using hydraulic jacks to move the wagon is painfully slow. It might be quicker with a crane, but because of Storm Isha, it's far too windy. Network Rail has yet to explain how one of its trains came off one of its tracks. No one was willing to talk to us, but in a statement a spokesperson said, "Sorry to passengers whose journeys have been impacted while we work to safely reopen the line."
Once the actual vehicles are removed from the site, that's when the full extent of the repairs to the infrastructure can be assessed and repairs can start.
By this afternoon, Transport for London was running a limited shuttle service between Clapham Junction and Shepherd's Bush of 2 trains an hour. It's normally as many as 6.
I understand this particular derailment damaged both the points and the overhead power, and that means it's going to take days rather than hours to fix.
Transport for London said damage to the tracks was considerable. Work to repair it is likely to go on throughout the night, but it's not clear when the line will reopen. Simon Harris, ITV News, North Kensington.
Now, in 100 days' time, Londoners will go to the polls. The current mayor, Sadiq Khan, is hoping voters give him the keys to City Hall for a record third time. In his way, the Tory candidate Susan Hall, but also a new voting system that he says has moved the goalposts. Following every twist and turn, here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Meet the borrowers.
If you don't want a Tory mayor, I'm asking you to lend me your vote.
It is absolutely vital that people give me their votes, lend me their votes.
These are the two front runners who want to borrow Londoners' votes. Sadiq Khan is the Labour mayor hoping for a record third win. Susan Hall is his less well-known Conservative rival. Is this a two-horse race?
Oh, absolutely. A vote for anybody other than me will let Sadiq Khan back in.
It's going to be a tough election. The government's moved the goalpost for the simple reason it makes it easier for the Tories to win.
London's next mayor will be chosen by voters using the first-past-the-post system. The winner will be whoever crosses the line with the most votes. Voters will no longer be able to register a second choice, a so-called second preference. And all voters will face identity checks at polling stations. Passports and driving licences are among the accepted photo ID documents. Labour's commanding lead in the opinion polls should reassure Sadiq Khan that his path to a third term at City Hall will be a smooth one. But the mayor and his team are nervous about those changes to the voting rules.
Unfortunately, many Londoners, particularly younger Londoners, black Londoners, black Asian, minority ethnic Londoners, poorer Londoners, Londoners who are disabled, haven't got photo ID.
Voter ID is easy for people to get. And actually, when there's been elections abroad and it's been brought in, he's thought that that was a good idea. It's strange that he suddenly doesn't think it's a good idea for London.
Do the changes favour you?
No, they favour democracy.
With second preference votes no longer in play, Sadiq Khan is making a direct pitch to Green and Lib Dem voters.
He's out trawling for Green and Liberal Democrat votes, saying they won't count if you vote for your own party. If you vote for him, for Sadiq Khan, then you will vote on the side he thinks they want to be on, which is not allowing the Conservatives to win. He's making that simple point.
Susan Hall's campaign probably wasn't helped by a radio interview yesterday.
How much do you pay to get on a bus currently?
I don't use them, I use trains all the time.
You don't know what a bus fare is?
No.
You will have seen the headlines saying it was a car crash interview. How bruising is that?
People have to take me as I am. I will say what I think. I will say I don't know if I don't know. And I will be honest with people.
Londoners make their choice 100 days from now. Simon Harris, ITV News, City Hall.
Next this evening, it is a costly problem for Transport for London, £130 million to be exact. That's how much TfL lost to fare dodgers last year. Bosses say they are determined to crack down on it with an almost 1,000-strong army of revenue and enforcement officers. But will even that be enough? Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
At Victoria, enforcement officers are fishing for fare dodgers. They stand either side of the ticket barriers, and it's not long before their net closes in. A woman is asked to produce her travel card. It turns out to be her dad's over-60s Oyster card. This woman also has an over-60s travel card. She says it's hers, but she's only 20. It's her mum's. A young man and a young woman have been spotted going through the barrier at the same time.
They purchased a chart ticket, which was discounted. One of them used it, the other person double-gated behind their colleague. We stopped them and we found out they're not even children. They're both adults.
Most fare dodgers who are caught are fined £80, but in March it's going up to £100 in an attempt to claw back more money. Transport for London estimates there are 100 million journeys a year where passengers are paying the wrong fare or no fare at all. That amounts to £130 million, which TfL will never see. Social media sites like TikTok are awash with videos which appear to show blatant and shameless illegal fare dodging on London's public transport network.
Say swear it still works. Swear! It still works. No, you're lying.
Other videos reveal the anger of passengers who do pay for their tickets.
No, you can use your ticket, mate, thanks. I'm not paying for you as well.
A lot of people rightly see fare evasion as really unfair. They're paying their fares, so why shouldn't other people? They're the ones who end up having to foot the bill for the ones who aren't paying.
Bumping the barriers, as it's known, is often done in full view of station staff, but they're not under pressure to step in if they fear being threatened.
They will assess the risk, they will challenge fare evaders, they will challenge on the gate line, but we don't want them to put themselves in a position where they are at risk of violence or aggression. So it's a dynamic risk assessment that they do.
Get out of there!
Transport for London says it's determined to crack down on the problem. As well as British Transport Police, there are 950 dedicated revenue inspectors and enforcement officers. More are being recruited. Simon Harris, ITV News, Victoria.
The family of a girl stabbed to death on her way to school in Croydon has said that no young person should ever be in possession of a knife with the intent to cause harm. It comes as new figures reveal knife crime incidents in the capital soared by 22% last year. It's an issue that is becoming increasingly political, drawing attention to the mayor ahead of the election. Simon Harris reports.
London's deadly knife crime epidemic shows no sign of slowing down. All too often, the police tents cover the body of a victim who was stabbed to death in their teens. Sometimes they're just children. Eliane Andam was just 15 when she was killed as she got off a bus on her way to school in Croydon last September.
Going and looking at her, seeing her in the morgue, and this was a lovely 15-year-old girl who had so much plans, so much ambition. She wanted to be a lawyer to tackle injustice in our world. And yet she's there lifeless. And so it's really had a huge impact mentally, physically, on the rest of the community and our family.
Eliane was one of 18 teenagers in London who died from stab wounds last year. The latest official figures show more than 11,500 knife crimes were reported to the police in London between September 2021 and 2022. But in the 12 months leading up to September 2023, the figure had soared to 14,000. That's an increase of 22%, up by more than a fifth.
Sadiq Khan is failing Londoners. I deal with all 43 police and crime commissioners across England and Wales, and Sadiq Khan is the least effective of those. He claimed that knife crime in London was going down, and the Office for National Statistics had to correct him.
A source close to Sadiq Khan accused the government of cutting £1 billion from the Met's budget and from youth services, and the mayor was backed by his party leader.
He's playing his part, but I don't think it's right or fair, particularly to victims, for the government to simply sit on its hands and say it's somebody else's fault.
In 2021, Levi Ernest Morrison was stabbed to death with a so-called zombie knife in Sydenham in South London. He was 17.
A zombie knife and a samurai knife are more likely to die from than probably a kitchen knife, because of the blade is being so wide and long.
Today, the government started the parliamentary process to create a law banning zombie knives. Labour also announced its plans to halve knife crime within 5 years if it wins the election.
Let's just make knives very difficult to get in our country. In fact, ban them, OK? I think we should ban online sales of knives.
Can I ask, straight up, Sakir, Croydon has had the highest number of homicides last year.
In Croydon, youth worker Anthony King joined Eliane's cousin to make a social media video inviting Sir Keir Starmer to come and see for himself how a community is affected by knife violence. Simon Harris, ITV News.